Hey guys, it's Psychosis here, and today since I've started reviewing books, I decided to review a book I just finished the other night, and that's Population 1 by Tyler McNamer. And now this book is my first non-fiction book that I've reviewed, so a bit different than the other two videos of books that I've done, but yeah. So this book is not a fiction book. It's about the author's life and experiences in his life, and his autism. He has, as the author Tyler, he has autism, and just as it says, autism, adversity, and the will to succeed. It's probably hard to see because it's reflected, but that's what it says on the title. And so I finished this book the other night. It's been sitting on my bookshelf for years. I just decided to read it, and like I said, it's a non-fiction book. And the book is really short. This book is only about like 200 pages. It's a really easy read if you come across it. And it's about his experiences in autism. And in this book, he focuses a lot about how he views the world differently. As with autism, autistic people view the world differently. I could attest to that. I myself am autistic. So I like that. That's why I was interested in reading this book. Reading a book for someone with autism, seeing how they see it. Kind of like, and it kind of relatable, except I don't know. I don't see him as high functioning as this kid. This kid seems like, in writing this book, he seems like really, really high functioning, just the way he sees the world. And the reason it's called Population 1 is because he views like everyone as like a world, and they're the sole member of said world, and their experiences are all different, and that they're the ones, each single sole member of the world is able to explain the story of it. It's kind of an interesting way. He puts a lot of like relational, like planets and space and stars. He really likes that. He says a lot in the book, and he talks a bit about his autism, although that he doesn't mention it too much, but he does mention it in a few chapters. It's not the focal point. And in the description of the book, they talk a lot about how he overcomes bullying. He only talks about bullying in like a few chapters, but they're pretty good. Yeah. So this book's kind of like that. It's more like it's more like a success story type book about how he became successful. He's obviously way older. He wrote this when he was still in high school, but yeah. And the book's also, like I said, is really short, easy read. There's only 50 chapters. It's not 200 pages. And but he explains his experience with autism, and then also his parents are divorced, so he talks about that in one or two or three chapters. And all the fun things he's done and things he likes and stuff. Kind of a far cry from what I normally read, but sometimes it's nice to mix it up. And and it's been sitting on my shelf, and like with anything that sits for a long time, might as well just read it, or listen to it, in case of music. But I will say I like this book. There's really not much to say. I just like this book. Like I said, it's I was able to relate to the author because he has autism, and then not relate to him because he's different. He does mention that how everyone who's autistic is different. I can also attest to that, because I don't seem to relate to much people myself. I'm just kind of like an odd one out. He kind of talks about that a lot in this book. Like, he doesn't talk about his autism a lot, but he does talk about being different and how he thinks differently, like most of the book. And it looks pretty good though. And it's pretty impressive that he wrote a book at this age. Most people don't write a book very young or when they're teenagers, so anytime it's seen, it's kind of like pretty cool, especially if the book's good. And I like this book. Obviously, it's a non-fiction book, so it's not a book you just casually pick up and read. But if you do decide to read it, it is easy. The chapters are really short. You can just whip through them if you sit down for a few hours and just focus. And really easy to read, like I said. The longest chapters are are like less than 10 pages long. The average chapter length is 2 to 3 pages. And I honestly thought it was written well. He's actually pretty good at writing. He says he enjoys writing. It really shows. And I can only imagine what he writes now, or if he were to write more in the future, how much he'd improve. And yeah. Although there is one issue with that though. I did find in two sentences that there were two sentences in this book that just did not flow right. They were just written really bad. And that happens. It really sucks, but just two sentences that were like bad. Like the words just did not make sense. They didn't flow right at all. But other than that, I thought it was written pretty well. And like I said, I think it's really interesting to see where he goes in the future writing. If he writes fiction or he keeps writing more nonfiction-esque books about himself or about things in the world. And yeah, there's really not much to say without spoiling this book. Just that he talks about his life and overcoming problems, and that he has become a pretty successful person, and that this book is more of like a success book. It's more a book for advice, and that's what he's trying to do while talking about using his life experiences as an example, as inspiration that he hopefully for people to do better. And it is a little inspirational though, because he has overcome quite a bit. And he seems like a very successful person. He's also very optimistic. His optimism spreads so much through this book. Like, I've never seen a person in my life that's so optimistic. Or maybe that's just how I see things. I'm kind of the opposite. I'm a pretty negative person, even if I don't always show it. But yeah, he's very optimistic, like a very optimistic person. And it shows in his writing, like always trying to see the bright side of things, always trying to be happy. And then talking about how his reality crumbles because he realizes that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's a whole chapter where he talks about how the world is just evil. It's just like so random because it's like it doesn't seem like he's gonna talk about that, but he does. And yeah, that's another thing too. The chapters aren't exactly like a normal chronological order. He doesn't just start from the beginning per se. Like he sort of does when he his younger years, but he doesn't just go in like chronological order of events. So one part he's talking about this, another part he's talking about this, and then later chapters he connects to an earlier chapter. And it's just he writes how as he said in the intro of the book, he just wrote for what he was feeling. So each chapter is whatever he was feeling to write. But yeah, very optimistic. If very optimistic. There are a few sentences flow right though, but very good book, very inspirational. I like how optimistic he is. It really brings up my mood. At least for me, it brings up my mood reading this book, or did read when I read this book. And it was a good thing that I picked it up off my shelf and finally read it, because it has been sitting on my bookshelf for years and I never touched it. But it's not a book I'd say to pick up and just casually read. Like, you gotta be invested into it. But yeah, I really liked it though. But yeah, like I said, it's just the book's not the most organized. He just wrote what he was feeling for the chapters. So like one second he's talking about this event, and then like 10, 20 chapters later he reconnects and goes more in depth with that point. It's not the most chaotic thing in the world, but if you're expecting it to go like a standard book chronological chapters, it's not exactly that. And yeah, but I'm excited to see where he goes. Like I said, very optimistic person. I keep saying that, but it really shows. This kid is very optimistic. I've never seen someone so optimistic in my life. And yeah, it's a success book, and he doesn't give a whole lot of advice, but it really amounts to just find courage, just go for it, be brave, that kind of thing, which is really nice to see in a book. Really good stuff. Just go for it, be brave, be courageous, just go for it. Understand that people will be mad at you, but that's okay. Learn to walk away when you need to walk away. Just really good advice like that. And that's what this book is. It's a good book of advice. It's kind of like that's why I say it's kind of like a success motivational book, is how I describe it. But he uses life experiences to try to give those lessons. He doesn't explicitly say those lessons in every chapter. You just kind of have to pick up on it. But yeah, very good book. Not my favorite book, and it does unfortunately get knocked a few points for those two sentences. Like I said, they were just really bad. They did not flow right. I had to read the sentences like 10, 20 times, and I still, it's just the way you worded them. They just did not go right. But yeah, overall, I give Population 1 a 7 out of 10. 7's a good number, and this is a good book, but it's just a nonfiction book that I wouldn't read all the time, but it's a very motivational, optimistic book. And as someone with autism, I really like seeing other people with autism in literature or reading or writing. It's just really nice to see, and not be some stereotypical thing or caricature or anything like that. And just seeing that anyone can really succeed if they put the work and effort in. And yeah, I give this book a 7 out of 10. Population 1's a good book. If you come across it, I'd recommend reading it, but it's a non-fiction book, motivational book, so it's not just a book you can casually pick up and read like a fictional book. But I just get super engrossed and turn the pages like nothing for. But yeah, 7 out of 10, really good book. And yeah, and that's my review for Population 1. I like the book, and I really am liking reading. I'm trying to get back into reading and trying to change my life around. Don't worry, guys. I still am really into metal music. It's just, I'm just trying to mix more things around, turn my life around, do other things as well. And I haven't really been reading much over the past few years, so it's nice to try to get into reading, because there's so many books out there that have caught my eye. Some I've read and some that I want to reread and look back on. Yeah, that'll be my review. If there's any books you want me to review, just let me know in the comments, like with metal albums and EPs and that kind of thing. I'm always interested in reading new stuff, listening to new stuff. And any constructive criticism goes. I'm always wanting to improve these videos. This video is probably not the best, but anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.